Hey, I'm Cole Cameron,
I'm Craig Cameron.
and we're back here at the Double Horn, and I'm asking my dad a few more questions. So, trying to figure out, how he got to where he is, and who helped him get to that point. So, I think it's very important, kind of, to talk about our mentors. So, for me, my mentors in the horse business, in life, obviously my dad. So, and I get to be around him every day here at the Double Horn and on the road, and I've learned quite a bit of life, how to be a better horseman, and most of all, how to be a good man. So from this guy, so appreciate that. But I want to get to know you better, and the world wants to get to know you better. So as a horseman, who is or who are your mentors?
Well, I guess just about every clinic I do, I mention Ray Hunt and Tom Dorrance, and I don't think I would have what I have or do what I do without those guys, because really, it was through them that I learned this style of horsemanship. And when I say style of horsemanship, I'm talking about working with the horse. And it's something that you never stop getting better at. So that time I went and saw Ray Hunt at San Angelo, Texas, that really changed my life.
It did. Tell me about the first time you met Ray.
Well, that was where it was, and I was just a guy up in the crowd there, and I did go to learn something, but I didn't realize how much it would affect me, because here was this guy taking these colts in there and working with them, and then explaining not only what he was doing physically, but mentally and emotionally, and working on that level with these horses, looking at things from the horse's point of view. And so that trip, when I say I met Ray Hunt, I just shook his hand and got to ask him a few questions, but I was definitely influenced by him. So, and then from there, I would go to a Ray Hunt clinic anytime I could, and from there he got to know who I was, and he would ask me to help him. I'd get to come in there once in a blue moon, and I never worked for Ray Hunt or anything like that, but I saw him as many times as I could, and then whenever he would be in Texas or something like that, and I think he kind of maybe got where he would know I would show up eventually, So, but it was great to be there. But every time it was a learning process. But of course, if you were around Ray, you would hear him talk about his friend, and his friend who had influenced him so much, and that friend ended up being Tom Dorrance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So are their philosophies that pretty similar? Or?
Well, he learned from Tom. And Tom, again, a true genius when it came to horses and horsemanship. Yeah. So I was lucky enough to get to meet Tom Dorrance a couple times, and then from there I got a chance to, I got to where I would call Tom Dorrance on the telephone about once a month and visit with Tom. He always called it visiting, but man, you could ask Tom any question, and he would never necessarily give you a direct answer. He would make you work at it, but he would certainly make you think. And again, he was always looking at things from the horse's point of view, and he wanted to be on the horse's side.
Right.
And from that, I learned that from Tom, and I still study his style, his methods. The same for Ray. They're in my mind. I carry them with me really everywhere I go. So when I'm working, whether I'm by myself or in front of a crowd, sometimes I pretend they're there. I feel like they're there. I can feel them, and I'd want them to be, anything I do, I'd want them to be proud of me and give me a nod of approval. So I'm just more or less trying to follow in their footsteps. But there's great horsemen everywhere.
Yeah.
As you know, you work for Al Dunning, and I've got to ride with Al, and I get to watch people like Buster Welch and Mark Chestnut, and there's so many great horsemen that you can be influenced by, and anywhere you go, it's a learning process. You could watch the worst horseman in the world and at least use them as a pitiful example,
Yeah.
You could learn what not to do. So it's a continual learning process.
Yeah, it definitely is. So you've talked a lot about some of the clinics that you've done when you went up to Ray's or whatnot. And is there a good story that you can tell to kind of add some humor, to the...
Well, Ray was pretty blunt, so he really would tell it like it was, and one time Ray had this lady in the colt class, and she just couldn't get up on this horse. She was a pretty big lady, and I understood what he meant. He was just pretty pretty open about it. But this lady, she was pretty big, and she was trying to get on this 2-year-old horse, and she was having trouble just lifting herself up. And finally, Ray just said right over the microphone, "This is the lady that has no business riding a colt." So, I mean, he would certainly tell it like it was. So, and I was like, whoa. So, but again, that was an honest statement.
Yeah.
And for riding a 2-year-old horse, and he was right. That lady probably shouldn't have been doing that. And then one time I was talking to Tom on the telephone. Tom was just such a great guy and such a gentleman. But we're talking about ground driving and technique and using one rein. And he said, but don't forget to use the 1/4-inch rule. And I was like, well, what's that, Tom? And he said, always leave at least a 1/4-inch space between the horse's hoof and your head. So
That's good to remember.
That is pretty good. So, but those guys were truly, I think from them, we really started this natural horsemanship.
Yeah.
And, it's still going on strong today.
I think it is still going on. I think there's a lot of natural horsemanship with what we do in our clinics, yours and mine and ours together. Also, I think colt starting has changed quite a bit since the Ray and Tom days. And I think it's lacking patience in a lot of ways. I think things have gotten real fast. Do you think the horse benefits more with more of the slower start that Ray and Tom Dorrance gave?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I find that as time goes by, I'm taking more and more time just thinking about Tom Dorrance out there. I'm just really slowing it down. And Tom would say that the quickest way to get there is to go slow.
Mm-hmm.
And it is absolutely and without a doubt the truth. If a guy would be patient, take his time, offer it up in a way the horse can understand, give him the time it takes for him to understand, not ask for too much too fast. In the long run, you're going to get there a lot quicker. So going slow, looking at things from the horse's point of view, not trying to force anything. Those are the philosophies of Tom Dorrance, and I'm definitely sticking with them, and I'm preaching them to you every time we're around these horses.
Yeah, every day. When we're working horses here, he just says, Cole, if you're a little slower, if you just work a little bit slower, you're going to get these horses so much further along.
Yeah.
Just trust me. And I think over the years now, I've started to try to slow down and think about that more. And really at my clinics, I'm still in the driver's seat learning these clinics, and I'm seeing it more and more with these riders. They're just real fast and jerky and trying to get on and not do the groundwork. And I'm thinking, what Dad tells me in my head. I'm like, they need to slow down too. Everyone needs to slow down. You can start
seeing it.
Yeah.
And to slow your hands down, to have a slow guiding hand, that's what that horse can follow.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes when a horse takes off, especially a young horse, instead of pulling on you, watch 99% of the people the horse takes off, they're going to pull on them. And really, don't just pull them, just guide them. Just give them some place to go. And because when you pull on them, they start pulling back, they get troubled, they get bothered. So again, don't try to slow them down, just direct them around. Pretty soon they come right back to you. And it's something you have to kind of learn, and you certainly have to feel it.
Yeah, it's a feel for sure. I've realized that in all the equine disciplines, you have to slow down. I was in the arena roping with a friend yesterday who's a lot better roper than I am, and he was just telling me, you got to slow down. You got to keep everything slower. He said even in this sport where you think it's just real fast,
speed,
it's not. It's slow. And those guys that are at that upper echelon ropers, those guys are slow and patient. And
slow is fast.
Slow is fast.
You better believe it. So there's so much truth in that. And the Tom Dorrance used to say it's so simple, it's complicated.
Right.
And if you, in the beginning, you hear something like that, you're like, what? And then as you get into horsemanship, you really delve into it, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, talking about the spirit of the horse. All that begins to make more sense to you. And if you literally live it every day, and think about it and truly look at things from the horse's point of view, his perspective, you're going to do a better job and definitely get a better result.
Yes, sir. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little talk as much as I have, and if you take anything away from it, I hope you remember slow is fast, and definitely remember the 1/4-inch rule. So, I'm Cole Cameron.
I'm Craig Cameron.
We'll see you next time.
Okay.